Every year is unique in its own respect, and it's always good to end the year on a positive note. Perhaps this top 10 2024 purchases list can help do that for some. Some of these might surprise you, and others won't. So sit back and join me as I reveal my favorite 2024 purchases. Hello, my beautiful fragrance family. Dustin here, fragrance fan. Go ahead and do me a solid and click that like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell notification, and I'm just going to keep on bringing you guys these budget-friendly fragrance reviews. That $40-ish and under dollar range, and most of these are way less than that, and a good number of these you can find at your local rack stores. I got 10 fragrances here for you guys today. That was a very, very hard list to come up with because I bought some bangers this year. I started out with like 17 of them that I was just like, man, these are the fragrances that just grabbed me when I first got them, and I had to eliminate 7 of them. Some of them was heartbreaking to do, but I did with tears in my eyes, and I said these aren't my top 10, not because they are not amazing, not because they might not even smell better than some of these. It's just I'm going to wear these ones more often. So that's why these are my top 10 purchases of 2024. So without too much introduction, let's get into these 10 fragrances in a bullet point presentation. By the way, it's not going to be some kind of full review. It's going to be quick PowerPoints of these fragrances, quick update on the longevity, and let's just get into these things. So up first, I want to go with one of my oldest purchases that's on this list. I got this fragrance about 10 months ago, and it actually knocked one of the awesome fragrances that were sitting right here in front of me, and I had to push that one aside because this one, just something about it I like a little bit more, and that is Offnot's Terrai Brown. This one right here smells a lot like Moustache or Tuxedo. It's in that kind of a category. Real creamy vanilla, patchouli, light spices, ozonic and aquatic at the same time, which is a bit different. And that's why this one knocked the other one off, because there's something about that like aquatic patchouli thing that this has going on. It is just lovely. If you are not into patchouli heavy fragrances, stay away from this. But if you do like patchouli, I'm kind of a sucker for it. I know people that aren't. I can see why, but I'm kind of a sucker for it. This one has a good dose in it. Again, Tuxedo, Moustache, that kind of a deal. That's what this is. This one, it's sweet, creamy, rich vanilla, patchouli, aquatic, ozonic, little bits of woods and spices. It's mostly creamy, silky smooth vanilla patchouli. So that's what this is. It's like an 8-hour fragrance, decent performance. Doesn't garnish the most compliments, but I love the way that it smells. And everybody that I show it to likes it too. It just, for whatever reason, I don't get that many compliments. I've got other fragrances that are like my favorites that I don't really get any compliments for whatever reason. But Terrai Brown had to make this list. Up next, let me do something a little bit weird. I don't have the bottle. It's in my car. My friend's borrowing my car. So, Maison Alhambra's Immortal. I'll just preface it like that. Maison Alhambra's Immortal. The Louis Vuitton Lemon Set Clone. Citrus, it looks like this. Okay, I'll show you a bottle that looks just like it, but it's not this color. This is what the bottle looks like. Just replace this with a light colored yellow, and that would say Immortal. T-E-L. I don't have the one that says T-A-L and the label is black like this. It's not like a stencil like the old school one, but it smells identical. Even if they reformulated it, like this one is like an 8 or 9 hour fragrance for whatever reason. Amazing fragrance, by the way. Let me just say that. This thing is feminine floral, but I love this thing. But we're talking about Immortal, right? So Louis Vuitton Lemon Set. If you have not smelled that fragrance, it is a very bright bergamot, ginger, citrusy, ambroxan, aquatic, floral, green fragrance. It's citrus, green, bright, poppy, aquatic, little bits of ambroxan. Very, very, it's like a zesty, spicy, citrus leaning fragrance. Super good for the summer, super good for the springtime. It is signature scent worthy. It's a freshie with some class. The performance on that one isn't like the best. It's like a 5-hour fragrance, but it does the job good. It does garnish compliments. Maison Alhambra's Immortal blew me away when I smelled it. And I heard a reviewer talking about how trashy that it was compared to the Louis Vuitton. He was just dogging this thing. And I said, well, what am I getting wrong? So I went and I smelled the Louis Vuitton and I was like, wow, I just bought this fragrance for $20. It was almost identical. It's like 90% there. The difference being is the Louis Vuitton's ginger was a little bit smoother, but it's like the Immortal was definitely doing its thing. And the Louis Vuitton didn't last a whole long time either. It was like the same amount of time. So I don't know what the deal was. $20. Maison Alhambra's Immortal. Roll the dice on it. If you like fresh fragrances, one that's a little bit different with a touch of class and some spice, check that one out. Bottle looks just like this. It's just lightly yellow. Up next, let me go with one that is very similar and another older purchase on this list, and I kind of been overlooking it. I haven't been throwing it on a lot of reviews because I've been checking out its older brother. I've been always blasting out Offnot Supremacy Blues. So today we're going to talk about the sister company of Offnot, and that is Terrai. This one is Rue Broca. I actually dropped this bottle straight off of it. Look at that. My heart stopped. Like it hit the concrete. It bounced off of that thing. But everything is good, and atomizer still works great. So this one is like Bulgari Tiger. Again, this is another citrus but grapefruit leaning, that tart grapefruit spicy thing. This one doesn't have quite as much aquatic nature going on or the florals. This one is more citrus, spice, somewhat sweet amber, musky, woody leaning. It's a little bit classier, a little bit more versatile. It's not only a fresh fragrance. I think that this thing is, again, a little bit more versatile than Immortal, and I think it's a little bit more dressed up. The reason why I always go with Offnot Terrai Blue on my list, scent profile, they're like the same. I love both of them. Is because Terrai Blue is a little bit sweeter, so I think it works a little bit even more versatile. It's a little bit heavier and sweeter. This one's like the eau fraiche version of that. Still redundant to own both of them because they're both very similar. So again, another citrus but tart grapefruit leaning, spicy, like a dry spice wood amber, minus the florals and the greenness that's in lemon set. And that's kind of what's going on here. Bulgari Tiger. If you know Bulgari Tiger, then this is Rue Broca is a very, very affordable version of that. So up next, we're going to go with Maison Alhambra's Afro Leather, the African Leather clone. And it is a patchouli, cardamom, earthy, mossy, dusty leather. But it's like a new leather, like a freshly washed, polished leather with those spices, the patchouli, cardamom, that earthy, mossy, dusty thing happening. This one blew me away. It blew me away. There's a good dose of patchouli on top of the leather. Again, if you're not into patchouli, you won't like this. But since I do, this one was right up my alley. Performance is pretty darn good. When I first got it, it was like 5 hours. I'm pushing almost 7 hours with this thing now. It's under $20. Found it on Amazon for a super cheap price, so I ended up scooping this one up. Blind bought it. Didn't know what I was getting myself into. First smelled it and I said, holy smokes, this thing is awesome. Went and smelled the original, and it definitely, they did a pretty good job. It's not like a 1-to-1. It's like an 85% difference. I think this one has, a lot of times the originals are a little bit more bright and have a more of a shine at the beginning. I think this one is brighter than the original. I think the original leans heavier on the darker, drier side than this one, but you can clearly tell what they're going after. Again, this just off memory. I've only played with it a couple times, and from what I remember, it's pretty darn good. Regardless, standalone. I don't care if it smells like the original. I like the way that this thing smells because it smells awesome. So that's why it made my top 10 list. And the performance is good. If you like leather scents, that's probably, as of right now, probably my favorite leather dominant fragrance as of right now. So Maison Alhambra's Afro Leather made the cut for sure. Another one that I was late joining the hype train on this thing, and that's why it's getting featured in this video. And I'm going to feature the one that did get hyped up a little bit more because I personally like wearing it more. I recommend the original to people that don't know about this line or what they're getting themselves into, but since I like bold fragrances, I'm trying to polish this thing up a little bit because it's a little bit dirty. Bentley for Men Intense. boozy, woody, spicy, rum, cinnamon. Touches of smoke. Hardly any sweetness in this. It's just a rich, boozy, spicy, woody, dry fragrance. That's what it is in a nutshell. Not a good atomizer. Man, it's got a touch of florals in there. That's all you need to know about this fragrance. And it's a really long-lasting fragrance. Dry, spicy, rum, cinnamon, woody fragrance. That's what is going on. Little bits of powdery florals floating around the whole thing. Long-lasting, compliment-getting, confident business style fragrance. It's not for the faint at heart. It's not for the youth. It's not a crowd pleaser. It's great quality. And the original, the difference between the two, even though the notes are exactly the same and this one has an added floral note, I feel that the original has, for whatever reason, more of a white powdery floral touch than this one, and it's a little less sharp. That's the difference between the two. They both all have that rich, boozy, spicy, woody thing going on, but this one is just a little bit more bold. So Bentley for Men Intense is actually a very fitting name for this. It's not that much more intense than the original. It's like 15% more intense. So yeah, Bentley for Men Intense. Long-lasting, business, confident, spicy, boozy, rum, woody fragrance. Had to make this cut. Up next, let's go ahead and go with a freshie. One that I had to replace my bottle. That's how I know I love this fragrance and almost can't live without it, because when I broke my original bottle, I was missing it so much that I had to replace it with Tois Mahir Legacy. You can actually find this one in the rack stores right now, I think for like 25 bucks. At Burlington. Man, let me get this thing in the air. At first, I will confess I wasn't blown away with it. I thought, okay, it smells nice, but it's just another citrus fragrance. But man, it is crisp. It is nice. It's refreshing. It's bright. It's like drinking the most refreshing carbonated soda, like a clear soda on a hot day or something. It's sparkly, bright, fizzy, citrus, little bits of ambroxan. It smells like Parfums de Marly Sedley. It smells very, 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 very close to that fragrance. The performance on this one is not bad at all. It's like 6 hours, so it's a strong side of average. And the number one thing that you need to know about this fragrance is it is a bright, sparkly, fizzy, citrus-leaning fragrance. That's really what it is. It's super simple smelling. But my goodness, it is refreshing, aquatic, bright, sparkling citrus. Had to make this list. I don't even want to go over any of the other notes because it might lean you astray. Sparkly, bright, fizzy, refreshing, crisp, clean, uplifting, daytime, summer, citrus-leaning fragrance. Touch of wood. So up next, one that I was definitely late joining the hype train on, I'm going to feature it because I bought it this year. Offnot Supremacy, Not Only Intense. I found myself reaching for this one a lot. It definitely gets you in that Aventus DNA, but it's not an Aventus clone to me. This one is fruitier and sweeter. It's got even more of a mossy, earthy thing happening. Not quite as much smoke, at least as Club de Nuit. As the original Aventus, it's probably about the same amount of smokiness, but like Club de Nuit limited edition and stuff like that, it's not the same as that. You can own both of them and it's not too redundant. This bergamot, blackcurrant, mossy, somewhat floral kind of a fragrance. Patchouli, good dose of patchouli. So most people that are watching this channel know what Aventus smells like. So to keep it simple, it's Aventus with a sweeter, fruity, blackcurrant, inky touch, amp up the mossiness. To keep it as simple as possible. Dustier, earthy moss, more rich, dark blackcurrant. That's basically what it is. Some people are saying that it doesn't last long, and I swear that, you know, people are going nose blind and stuff. I go nose blind. I think it stops lasting after 4 or 5 hours, and then go into my room the day after, and my room smells like Offnot Supremacy Not Only Intense because my clothes either are in the hamper or whatever. It's just whatever I sprayed it on is still in my room, and I can smell this fragrance because it's just that long lasting. It's not the beast that a lot of people were saying, in my opinion, but it is long lasting and it's very versatile. I've been reaching for this thing a lot. This is a 155 milliliter bottle, and I think the juice is probably about right there. So I've probably taken a good 40 milliliters out of that thing, which is really saying something. Especially, you don't even need a lot of sprays on that one. So that's saying something about that fragrance. Another one, late joining the hype train on it. A lot of these I'm kind of late joining on because I don't want to buy these things when they're like $40 or $50. I just can't really see myself buying a clone that's like $50. I'll just fork out a couple more dollars and get the real thing, right? So this one I found for a reasonable price. I didn't feature the original because this is the one that I like a little bit better. They're both amazing, phenomenal, wonderful smelling fragrances that are not going to get lost in my rotation. Lattafa's Camera Kawa, the coffee version of Lattafa Camera. So Kilian's Angel Share, basically, obviously, if you can't tell by the way the bottle looks, rich, creamy, apple pie type of thing, apple brandy, boozy. There's like plum and praline, and a roasted coffee note. This is like that more masculine version of Camera. I know all the reviewers are probably saying the same thing that I am. It's a little bit more masculine. It's got that coffee note and it's apple pie because they're right. It's what it smells like. They're not wrong. So I'm reminding you that they are right about that. It really does have a Camera feel, almost identical smelling, a little bit more masculine coffee. Not quite as sweet. It's a little bit more polished, I think. It's just as creamy and rich, but I feel like this one's a little bit more polished. It doesn't last quite as long. It lasts a good amount of time, but it isn't 8 hours. This one's like 7.5. It's almost the same. This 7.5 Camera is like 8 hours. So creamy, rich, apple pie, apple brandy, little bits of that cinnamon floating around in this thing. Coffee bean, dry roasted coffee. It's an awesome take on it. Super great take on Angel Share. Up next, one that I was really pleased with because I love the original. I think the original is just wonderful. And that is Lattafa's The Kingdom. It is a Jean Paul Gaultier elixir clone. Some kind of a fresh combination of mint, aromatic lavender, powdery vanilla, little touches of some tobacco dancing in there. It's spicy, but not overly spicy. It's sweet powdery vanilla, but not feminine sweet. And it has just enough of that aromatic lavender, fresh mint combination to keep this thing a little bit more versatile. It's not classy. It's very playful and youthful. It's a little bit more versatile because of that freshness. So it works just as good during the day as at night. It's still a cool weather-leaning fragrance for sure because it is sweet, but it is a very versatile style of vanilla fragrance. It actually eliminated a vanilla fragrance that I think is just wonderful smelling, but it's not quite as versatile as this. I can see myself wearing this one more than what it eliminated. So again, aromatic lavender mint combination with that powdery vanilla, touches of spice and tobacco. Flakes of tobacco, but it's not a whole lot. That's one of the main differences between this and the elixir is that this has a little bit of a toned down tobacco feel, but other than that, it's getting you 90 to 95% there for a very affordable price. So yeah, Lattafa's The Kingdom. Oh, and performance so far is pretty decent. 5.5 or 6 hours, and I'm sure it's going to amp up the longer that I have this thing. So Lattafa's The Kingdom had to make this cut. Up next, a fragrance that garnished me compliments from the first day that I wore this thing. It was hyped up when it first came out, and for good reason, and it's made it on my list for the top 10, and that is Paris Corner's Rifa Kat. It's a spicy, leather, smooth, gourmandy, but not overly gourmandy. It's not like sweet kind of gourmandy thing. It's mostly a smooth, spicy, dark, leather, dry fragrance. Saffron, olibanum, resinous. That's what's happening. There's no leather listed in this, but I clearly get some kind of leather thing happening. There's to me. I get leather, spices, resinous, woody. It's all of that. Baby cat performance isn't all that great. It's not all that bad though. It's like 5 hours, maybe 6. It's probably going to get more the longer that I keep this thing. Look at the juice level. I just got this thing a couple weeks ago. You can see that I've already taken 10 or 15 ml out of this thing. Wonderful smelling fragrance, compliment getter. And yeah, if you don't know what baby cat smells like, it has that. I mean, I don't know what it smells like. I just know what the clones smell like. So this one has that leathery, spicy, woody, dry kind of a feel. So these are the 10 fragrances that made my list. It was hard to pick these ones out. It was almost heartbreaking to put some of them down because they got a special spot in my heart. But these are the ones that did it. I'll do some more of these list videos, maybe my top 10 highest rated fragrances ever. But these ones are just my favorite purchases of 2024. So with that, I'm out. Y'all be blessed. Take care of yourself always. And until next time.